Welcome back to Pima Voices. My name is Savannah and I'll be your host. Today I am speaking with Greg Wilson, who is the Dean of Applied Technology at Pima Community College, and today we'll be exploring the world of technology and continuing innovation. How are you today, Greg?
I'm very good, Savannah. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining me today in the studio. I appreciate your time. You're such a busy man. You have applied technology, advanced manufacturing, aviation. You're like all over Tucson, I feel like. So thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us.
Thank you, Savannah. It's nice to be here.
Well, for people who don't know who you are, so I know a little bit about you, Greg. You've been at Pima for 20?
It'll be 24 years
24
in April,
years.
Actually starting the 25th year in April.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to Pima. I know you became Dean of Applied Technology in 2011. Is that correct?
2014.
Oh, 2014.
Yes.
I stand corrected. So
Yeah, so I actually joined the college in 2001. I was working in Florida at the time with NCCER, which is a group that works with the construction industry to develop curriculum. And I'll just make this quick story short. I was actually at training in New Orleans for 3 days, learning about curriculum development and that whole process. And I was sitting next to a dean from Pima Community College at the time. And she just happened to have a job opening up and it worked out. So moved across the country from Florida to Tucson back in 2001 and have enjoyed it. I used to say I had the best job at the college, and then I became Dean of Applied Technology, and so I think that even more so now.
Well, I have to say there's been so much growth within Applied Technology that I remember when I first started working with the foundation, the automotive technology building was like just being built, and you guys were having like a photo shoot that day for Biz Tucson.
Right.
And I was like, this is cool. And then things started to like get filled in and this and that. And I started to learn more. Like I had no idea that like those programs within automotive technology kind of really existed before working with the foundation. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, so we do a big car show every April with the Tucson Street Rod Association, usually the fourth Saturday in April every year. And as part of that car show, there were like 300 vehicles, classic hot rods and electric vehicles and really cool things. They give us the opportunity to give tours to the community that day. And so we usually do 6 tours that day at the top of every hour. The show's like from 9 to 3. Without fail, right? We'll have a tour of 75 people or 100 people coming through the labs. And every time, I had no idea that Pima did all of this.
Yeah.
So it's just been, I think we are one of the best kept secrets in town. When you think about the options that our programs give students when it comes to rewarding careers.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I say this a lot to a lot of people, not just even on here, but just like in public. I'm like, I keep saying like, I'm done going to school. Like, I'm done. And I see new things. I'm like, ooh, can I do that? Like, I want to take a class there. Like, it makes it seem so much more exciting. Well, and just like, you just want to like get in there and learn.
Well, it's that. And I think what really gives or what keeps students interested, as you mentioned in the intro, just the continuing innovation, right? We are directly tied with industry. So it's always changing in terms of the skill sets because the technology continues to develop. And so our programs are never the same. Every time you come back, there's something new.
And so speaking of programs, so for someone who isn't really like knowledgeable about what is under the umbrella of applied technology, what programs exist under that? Yeah,
so we have automation and robotics. It's really officially noted as automated industrial technology. We have automotive, aviation technology, building and construction, which includes carpentry, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, safety, masonry, management. So that's, you just say building and construction, but there's a lot to it. We also have computer-aided design, machining, and welding. And then we have also started developing non-credit pathways for optics.
I'm like trying to take it all in still because that is a lot. And also even like, so your advanced manufacturing building opened up recently, which houses welding,
computer-aided design, machining, and the automation and robotics program.
And that's in itself a really cool building. And now, because those programs have moved out of where they used to be on downtown campus, building and construction is getting an update. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the Center of Excellence in Applied Technology has really 4 phases. And automotive opened in the fall of 21. Aviation opened, or the expansion was completed in the fall of 22. The big advanced manufacturing building that you mentioned was the fall of 23, and we're currently renovating the ST West building at downtown campus, and that is scheduled to be completed in October of 25.
And I just realized you said aviation. We forgot about aviation in our list of things because they're on a whole nother campus.
Yeah, well, Jason and Charlie do a fantastic job in the faculty and staff. And yes, it is the only applied technology that is not based at the downtown campus.
But just to circle back to building and construction real fast. So I know on our website, on the foundation website, we have the campaign going for them to get equipment and things like that. Because that building is just the home's already there, right? So they just need the equipment to be filled into that space. And then can you repeat again when that building's supposed to like house classes?
Based on the other 3 phases completing, if the schedule holds and we're done in October, we may be able to move some stuff in, but I would suspect that January, so the spring of 26, is when everything would be moved in and classes would run in the new ST West, which is probably going to change the building designation as well. We just had that conversation today. So ST West will become something else.
Oh, all the secrets are being let out today,
yes,
huh?
Yeah.
And so they're still looking for equipment to fill in that space, correct?
Correct. We have received some federal allocation to expand our HVAC capacity. We are also getting into heavy equipment operations, which we have not done previously. So we're bringing in some simulators. John Gerard, department head for building and construction, and his team are doing a fantastic job. Again, staying aligned with industry, but we could always use new equipment to stay current. And basically, when you think about ST West, building and construction's original space was about 2,500 square feet, which is not a lot when you're serving enrollment between 500 and 600, 650 students. So that space is going to expand to about 25,000. So
That's
yes,
awesome.
we could use help filling that building with equipment.
And I know we still have that campaign going on our website. So if anyone wanted more information about that, you can get a hold of us, pimafoundation.org, to learn more about that BCT campaign.
Yes, thank you.
And I know there's like a lot to applied technology, so let's try to hone in on something specific here. So I had Kate Hoffman on with Earn to Learn, and she works with us, and we work with you to the Forward Asset Program, which is a really cool and interesting program. I feel like I haven't really seen a lot before this one, where students work or they learn on campus, and then they also learn and work in the field here in Tucson with Jim Click, correct?
That's right. So our our automotive program has a general program that is aligned and is accredited by ASE. And then we have multiple, what we call OEM, original equipment manufacturer programs. So those are proprietary, aligned with a specific brand or manufacturer. Previously, we had already been running partnerships with Chrysler, or officially known as Stellantis, as well as Subaru U. And those are online components. Forward Asset is our first on-the-ground, in-person, tangible OEM program. We, along with a school in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, as well as a school outside of Atlanta, are the 3 newer Forward Asset programs. And when Ford Motor Company out of Dearborn decides to add a school, they really expect, it's not just on the school to deliver the programs. They really want to see that the educational institution is aligned with the big local dealer in town, in this case, of course, Jim Click. And so as part of that process, Mr. Click wrote a check for $300,000 to start, to get the first 6 vehicles that we needed to build up the program. And you're right, from there, students, I will say this, the cool thing about working with Ford Motor Company is that one of the things we see in technology programs a lot is that as soon as students get a base skill set, employers will really want to take them and so they can go to work, right? And that's great because a lot of our students, that is their intent, is that they want to get a skill set and start earning money. For Ford Motor Company, they really expect the students going through the program to earn the Ford Asset AAS degree. So the schedule is that the students will be with us for about 8 weeks, and then they will be at the Jim Click dealership learning under a master technician for 8 weeks. And so they rotate back and forth until they complete the 2-year degree. And right now, we just started the second cohort. So we have 2 cohorts. 1 8-week, we'll have a cohort at the campus at downtown, and the other cohort will be with Jim Click, and then they switch.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Honestly, I was like, that is really awesome because a lot of times you don't even get that like real world experience until after schooling is done too. And then people are like, well, you don't have experience. And you're like, well, because I was in school. And so it kind of like you have the best of both worlds and you're getting exactly what they, I don't know if need is the right word or want, but you're learning with that. Because then they get hired on there, right? So then they already know exactly what goes on in that business, how it operates, how it works, and they're just like ready, set, go.
Right, correct. What the expectations are.
Yes.
And that is one of our goals, is to, when we are building our programs or offering our programs, we try to imitate industry as best we can. So if you know anything about the automotive industry, right, you get to a certain point as a mechanic, as a technician, where you're working on a flat rate. And so a job, when you take your car into the shop, has a specific time with that task, whatever it is, whatever that repair is. And so if you are working on that task and you finish it faster, right, that's more money in your pocket. So our program is unique in that it is set up where students are working in it's really a competency-based program. So as you get through the different expectations, faculty will work with you individually and sign off, and then you move to the next task or station. When you go into our lab, that's how it's set up. And I know this is airing, so if you have not been to the downtown campus, I'm going to repeat this, I'm sure, as we go through this talk. If you have not been to the downtown campus, come please visit. We love showing it off. Because as I mentioned earlier, right, a lot of community members are not aware, and then without fail, I'll go, hey, I've got a son or a daughter my daughter's interested in welding, can she come check this out? It's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
We do tours all day, every day, because we want to expose the community to what's possible.
And like your buildings are just so visible throughout town now. Like you can just see them and you know exactly where they are, what they are. But people who don't even know, they're like, oh my gosh, is that a Pima building? Because you can see the logo.
Right.
It's just pretty blue. And then I remember when I toured the advanced manufacturing building, Carmen, she spoke about that building so beautifully. I was all like, what?
Right.
And so like if anyone takes a tour with like Carmen or speaks like that, like you just get a whole new perspective of that building and why it was built and how it was built, and like you don't think of like construction being like how she explained it, and it was just it's more than just the building that houses classes. It was built it was built a specific way.
Right. And for those of you out there, since you're listening to a podcast, if you look up Carmen Cueva and Pima Advanced Manufacturing, she did a spot with Arizona Public Media. She's also a licensed architect. And so she was critical to how these buildings were completed in terms of the design and the planning. And just, when you really think about a student who doesn't know yet what he or she wants to do, when you come and visit, she's just described it in a way where it's really about taking flight, right? It can be daunting, and the building is big and intimidating. But I think it's great to have fancy buildings and, shiny jets at aviation, or the fancy cars in automotive, or the robots. I say this a lot, so if you've been on a tour with us, you've heard this, but what sets our programs apart are the faculty and staff, because they all have industry backgrounds. And so it doesn't mean anything to have really, I'm thinking of the black SS Camaro in automotive, looks great, but when you're working individually with faculty that have done it in industry and staff that have done it in industry, it just makes that process of learning much more meaningful. And as you mentioned earlier, whether it's Ford Asset or we work with PVB Fabrications on the welding side, and we do this in all of our programs. We work very closely with the Workforce Development and Innovation Division, Denise Kingman in particular, as the director for employer engagement and career services and the Office of Apprenticeships. really build those pathways for students to, you can weld in the booth at the downtown campus, but once you're welding on site with an employer, right, under the shadow of someone who's done it for 10 or 15 years, then it really helps the student understand, okay, this is what we were talking about in class or in the lab, and now I'm actually seeing it. And you can tell the difference when you're with an employer group and that fellow employee who's just doing it, right? That expectation, that quality level is there. And so it just really reinforces what we're teaching at the campus.
And I don't remember the exact story, but I remember I took a tour with you and you told a story about a student. Mm-hmm. I feel like it was welding, but I could be wrong. And it was like such a great success story. And we may or may not be thinking about the same story here, but do you have a story? I don't know. It could be welding. It could be a different one of a really good success story about a student who has gone through a program within applied technology.
Yes. We gave a tour earlier today for IBM is visiting, and some community college leadership from across the country is visiting Pima this week. So we have 160 high school and community college faculty at the downtown campus this week going through training, and we gave some of them a tour. The story you might be thinking about, and it's one of my favorites, is our automation and robotics program, AIT. We've had, like I said, we build the programs in a way we want students to really understand what it means to go into the industry side of it. But when you sometimes, going back to Carmen, right, and you talk about the emotion of learning and that process, what we're all here for at Pima is to help change students' lives, right? Every student, every day, every goal, every learner, trying to help them get to whatever their intent is. So, sorry, I'm rambling, I know, but
it's a good ramble, though.
But when you think about the passion of what we do, right? I mean, think about it. We've got employees that have been here 40 plus years, mm-hmm. right? I just said I'm about to hit 25. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, because every day you go into work, it's like, all right, what are we doing today? Like, who are we partnering with? What student are we serving? So in our automation and robotics program, we have a stackable certificates, right? So a 16-week level 1, 16-week level 2, stacks into the degree. So we also work very closely with adult basic education. If you're familiar with the IBEST program, Integrated Basic Education Skills Training, which originated in the state of Washington, we know that students, when they're doing their reading, writing, math assessments, right, sometimes that can be hard, it can be difficult, intimidating. What IBEST does is it places learning those skill sets in a technical context. And so we had a student who was homeless before she came to Pima. And hadn't not completed high school yet, so she went through adult basic ed, and then she went through the IBEST program that is tied to automation and robotics. And this is going back a couple of years ago, but the impact is still there. And so she completed that first certificate in the first semester, right, August through December, going from being homeless and earning the GED, and she had 2 job offers in December.
Wow. That is the story. I thought that was so, we use this we use this word a lot, transformational, but mm-hmm. It truly was and is transformational. And when you said that, I was like, that's amazing. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It's right. Amazing.
And so think about that, right? And so you think about the context of that certificate. We also had a student who was a 4-year graduate from the University of Arizona, earned a optical engineering degree, was working with a local manufacturer, earning about $55,000 a year. He had heard about our robotics program, came and took the exact same certificate that she did, completed it, started a couple of other classes, left that job because of the robotics skill set that he added to his optical engineering degree, and ended up working for one of the large distribution sites by the airport, making $89,000. And he has since left that company, and he's now working, making 6 figures with Caterpillar.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm like, that is really good. And it's such a great thing to have here in Tucson. Like, Caterpillar's based here, just on the other side of the freeway off of Congress. But those stories is like, it's really what shapes Pima, I feel like. And like anyone can come here and anyone can do that essentially. Doesn't matter like what program it is, whether it is applied technology or a different one, like there are opportunities here, the door is open here, and you can find something that fits what you potentially might want to do.
Absolutely. Earlier you had talked about the advanced manufacturing building. We just kind of listed the 4 programs that are in the building, but when we made the transition from the older space to building the center of excellence in the different phases, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention how it's not just about the credit programs. We offer non-credit pathways. We offer a lot of upskilling, right? So a large employer in town, they send employees all the time to take credit. They take non-credit. They have done contract training in the building for soldering. So I mentioned we work very closely with the workforce division. Other parts of the building that sometimes don't get missed, you know, Caterpillar is a great example. And this was in the paper a couple of years ago, but it really influenced how the building was designed. When Caterpillar Surface Mining Division moved from the Midwest to Tucson maybe 6-7 years ago, I guess, they called us and said, Pima, how can you help our engineers better understand what it means to design and plan? Because the engineers a lot of times if you've gone through a 4-year school, don't get a lot of hands-on experience. And so our faculty worked with their engineerings, workforce put the contract together, and we trained them on machining, welding, and prototyping. And it was great. We ran several cohorts. We're actually talking to them right now about the next cohorts. But we could only run the classes on Fridays when the labs were empty. And so when you come to the advanced manufacturing building, on the second floor, there is a 10,000 square foot room known as the Flexible Industry Training Lab, the FIT Lab. And that is there because we want to be able to train industry partners. At the same time, we're sending students through credit pathways. We can do all of it. And the building really gives us the flexibility to do that.
I think it's really cool too because like industry partners are coming to you, like because they see all the great things that are happening within that space and that program. And so, but I wanted to tie back too about how like anyone could essentially come to Pima, you know, start something, but also within applied technology, and this goes outside of that as well, like within IT and stuff. Mm-hmm. You guys also have classes with the Gospel Rescue Mission for the Center of Opportunity for people to kind of essentially get a certificate to kind of get an industry-based job, correct?
Right. And we've done a much better job with alignment, right? For those of you out there who don't know, Pima is a very strong matrix organization. You've heard me mention the workforce division. And so workforce really is the face with industry. And if you think about the matrix organization, I'm one of 9-10 deans responsible for verticals, right? The different academic divisions, right? Dana is Dean of Arts here at West Campus, and Don and Karen and Yolanda for health professions. Well, workforce going horizontally, working with all of us, and you think about the Gospel Rescue Mission, that partnership, workforce really helped build, and then you call on whether it's Jim Craig and Chris Bonhorst in IT to get that part of it together, or Jim is also responsible for hospitality, so the culinary aspects. And so you can have something at the Gospel Rescue Mission where you're doing culinary, where you're doing IT, where you're doing construction. And so it's just great that as an institution, we have that flexibility. We really work well together, especially when you compare us to other institutions where they're kind of like all over the place. One other thing I didn't want to forget, the Advanced Manufacturing Building also has on the top floor what we call the incubator, but the Southern Arizona Technology and Entrepreneurship Center, SATEC. That really gives the community an opportunity if you're an entrepreneur and you need to lease space as you're in that incubation period before you go through the acceleration stage. And it's tied, again, we talk about context, it's in the advanced manufacturing building. So that's the link. And if you've been through the building, you see a lot of glass. That's education on display. Again, that's a very intentional thing because we want students to see everything that's going on around on the 3 floors or throughout the 3 floors, whether it's industry that's training or an entrepreneur is here doing this or that. Because we want students to understand you don't just have to learn robotics or welding or building and construction and then work for somebody else. You can learn that entrepreneurial skill set and start your own business. So going back to Carmen's idea about, anything is possible in the building or in the center of excellence throughout the college, I think we've done a good job of actually building spaces and having the capacity to offer all of those different pathways for students.
Yeah, and I really like that because I feel like a lot of degrees or things like that, like specifically, like I'm an arts person,
right.
And a lot of art people are entrepreneurs, but when you go to school, it lacks that entrepreneurial side. And I see that in like a lot of different areas. So the fact that you have that available is so great because like you said, like you don't have to go work for it. I don't know how to say it. You don't have to go work for the man. You can go
right.
work for yourself, you know? And so having that option is awesome.
Yeah, like you can be the woman running your own business, right? I've seen you out there at events around town selling, you've come up with a great idea. And yeah, we want to just make sure our learners understand that and that while it can be a daunting process, others have done it successfully. You can do it too.
Yeah, I love that. And I know like we keep talking about automotive and advanced manufacturing. I don't want to forget about aviation either. And so before we end our session today, I feel like this is correct. Maybe I read it wrong. But the location, the space, the building is like the only one of its kind, like the program in Southern Arizona. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the only type of its kind in Southern Arizona. But it's also the best in the state. We don't hesitate to say that. We've been all over the state.
Yes, say it.
And given the types of aircraft that our students work on, right, it's an FAA certified program. And the number of aircraft, we're up to 20 now. It's probably easily the best in the Southwest. And we're very familiar with our friends in Wichita and Indiana. So we've benchmarked a lot of the top programs. If you don't know, we hosted the ATEC conference last year, which is a national conference for aviation technology technicians, technical education. And we, having the center of excellence and the different pieces and components allow us to do that sort of thing. And while our focus is on Pima County and our community, you still want to strive and certainly meet the expectation and the standard at a national level. And so making sure you're in contact across the country to stay current and make sure we are following best practices as far as our programs go, that's what helps set it apart so that the student does get that rewarding experience. And like you said earlier, being tied to industry, so the expectation is set as you're going through the program. So it's not a surprise when you get hired. And you're able to excel pretty fast, pretty quickly. So not too long ago, Jason, Charlie, the team at Aviation received a letter from a graduate of the aviation program who finished about 3 years ago and wanted them to know, hey, and I forget what state he was in, but he had just been promoted into a 6-figure job.
Oh my goodness.
That's a student who just finished 3 years ago.
Wow. That's really good. I feel like you have some of these like amazing, great stories of that, in almost every program that is under applied technology. These students are really thriving. They're really, excelling in their career, and it's because of what is being offered in that umbrella. And that's superb. That really is. Yeah, whether it's here in town or in another state.
Yeah. And one of so aviation, for example, Colorado and Washington, we have a pipeline of students coming from those states as well because the employers have recognized the quality level of the program. And we do lose some students who then take jobs out of the state, but it certainly helped with the reputation. Enrollment, again, other than the fall of 2020, we have been consistently up in enrollment and footsie in double digits. It's just been, and that's, again, the work of the faculty and the staff to make sure that the programs we're offering are quality. And for aviation, one of the things we work on currently, we do have ties with the high school districts, and JTED consistently is sending cohorts of students as a prep before then joining the program officially. So we certainly have strong relationships with the high schools, and that's automotive, dual enrollment, building and construction, robotics, CAD.
Just keep going, Greg.
Yeah, again, but that's what I said with applied technology. That's what just keeps it interesting and fun, because it is about building the network and building up our community. We haven't really talked about economic development, but I can't remember if you had if you think about American Battery Factory, right? When they took the tour, you could just see like, oh, this is great to have this type of partnership. And then now they're building the plant here in town, and that's going to help with higher level jobs for the community, right? And then hopefully we can attract more business to this area, which just, not
really
to be
great,
cliche,
nice
but raises
circle.
all the boats. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, before we end this, there's that stigma of community college of like, oh, why community college, or, you know, but that's changing. And I think like that, like applied technology has been a really great, like, poster child essentially for that within the college. And like, other programs are following suit and seeing that, and just seeing like the effort that's being made within instruction and like the updates in technology. And, you know, when I was speaking with Don a few weeks back, you know, the health professions is just like, he was telling me stuff. I was like, what? That is like the coolest thing ever. And so I love that education is like expanding into this like really lovely space of technology. And we're not being afraid of it. While it is scary, it's doing so much good within the classroom. And then everyone, like you said, it's not just like, it's not one person, it's the team, it's the faculty, it's the instructors. Like it all comes together and it builds this amazing program. And then students are just excelling and doing amazing things outside of here.
Yeah, the way you started about, you know, community colleges sometimes getting a knock, but we're what's cutting edge. We're faster and more responsive. And this is another example. If you've been on a tour, you've heard me say this, right? There's been such a large push to just go to the 4 years directly, right? To go to university.
Which is nothing wrong if you want to do
right,
that.
if that's for you. But I'd like to share with parents all the time, if your learner is planning to go into engineering, it makes so much more sense to start with the college. Stay with us for 2 years, get all of that hands-on experience. You're going to be a much more effective and a better engineer at the start of your career. I mentioned earlier, Caterpillar came to us and they wanted us to train their engineers on machining and welding. But they're, like I said, they're 5, 10, 15 years into their career. Do that at the high school level and then transfer. So yeah, we have so much to offer, and I know we didn't cover it in this short amount of time.
I was like, we can keep going forever. We really can.
So yeah, just again, like to repeat to everybody, you know, come visit, take a tour, bring your family, come to the car show in April. I think it's the 26th. It'll just give you an opportunity to, no pressure, you can see it and
no, there's pressure.
Yeah, come see what's going on.
Like I said, I agree with you. Calm down, take a tour. I said this with many people. Like if there's a campus you want to come down to, you can contact any of us at the foundation. We can be the liaison for that. I love taking the tours. I've taken the tour at all the buildings multiple times, and each time I feel like I learned something new. And so it's like never the same, but there's just so much to see and learn. I feel like a lot of people don't know. So a tour is a great opportunity for anyone who's like maybe thinking about going to college, just wants to know like, hey, what's that building? Come on down and check it out.
Yeah, our doors are always open. Small groups, big groups. If you want to see what our programs are all about, and then get a chance to see the facilities, you're welcome to come to downtown campus.
Yeah. And aviation too.
Yes.
So can't forget
aviation. Yep, aviation. We do tours all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so every location is super cool. So I highly recommend that as well. And so, like I said, we could talk about this forever because there's so much going on within your department and applied technology in general. But thank you so much for coming in today. I feel like I still learned something new, even though I feel like I've been to the buildings, taken a tour, we've chatted.
That's what I said. It's about innovation, right? Because the programs are always changing, so we get new stories with new students, so it never stops.
It doesn't.
But thank you for having us on. I'm glad we got a chance to speak about applied technology. The team is really doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what's next because I'm always like, there's always something new and I'm always super excited, and I hope the community is just as excited. So thank you again. I appreciate your time. And thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode next week. Have a good one.